And what up, you guys? Welcome back to Feral Publications YouTube channel. It's me, Rich. Daily uploads to open up my own comic book shop. And today I want to go into indie publishing. Definitely been keeping up with the readings like I said I would, and I have some notes and stuff. But specifically I want to talk about this section here, design your own books. There's a lot of points that were made in here about things that I didn't even consider. And I don't know how many of you guys who are designing your own books have thought about or considered these topics as well. So this is basically that section of it all. So this is about fonts. It's about title page. This is about designing the cover. This stuff right here, it doesn't really apply to us. I mean, the interiors, a little bit, but not so much. The InDesign crash course. So this section here, design your own books, this is kind of what I want to cover today, right? And I wanted to talk ultimately about what it made me think and consider, right? So I have my notes from it, right? And some of the main points that I want to talk about was like, it says, book design is an art. Anyone who tries to design even a simple book will quickly discover how difficult this art can be. Some designers like a wide margin along the bottom, providing space for the reader's hands. That was one of the key takeaways that I had on this, of like, it had a whole section talking about how the way you design the book, right? The book is meant to be held by hands. So the idea is like the way you design it, you have to keep in count, where do your thumbs go, right? So like something like this doesn't make sense because your thumbs are gonna go over the art. Something like this, on the other hand, makes more sense. You have space for your thumbs that doesn't cover the art. And I was like, to myself, I thought about it and I said, I never had considered that. That like, as someone who's designing the book, the layout of it, you need to consider, okay, when they're reading this, where do their thumbs go, right? Is it like that? Like how do you expect them to hold it? And so that's what they were talking about, like making sure there's always a space for that hand in your design, which again, I thought was very clever. Now you might ask yourself, why would somebody then make something that doesn't have the space, right? And that is a design choice. The design choice though is based off of what? It'd be based off of money. I want to use this one, right? This is my copy of 100 Años de Soledad. And this is one of the Latin American print editions, right? This is something else that the chapter covered, was this idea that like, even the font you choose is a design decision that you have to make. And now here's the differences, right? When you look at this text, it looks dense, right? And there's no space really for like your fingers or anything. It's just right. Now they're saying how like bigger font makes an easier read. It's easier on the eyes. People are willing to read more, right? They get more comfortable that way. So when I think of something like this versus something like this, right? So here you can see kind of the example really given in the book, right? The spaces, there's much more space, right? So it's easier to read, it's easier to understand and identify what you're reading, right? But the difference, right? The trade-off that you lose is if you did this book in that manner, it definitely isn't going to be a 321 page book anymore, right? So like this Sudamerica edition of 100 Años de Soledad, the aim of it was to make it as cost effective as it could be. And that's my point of like all these design choices is to serve a purpose, right? They did this in order to get the page count down, which means they used less resources, which means that the book was actually much more price conscious, right? Whereas opposed to this right now, with as much space as they gave it to breathe and to be comfortable to read, sits at 264 pages. Now, if you were to take this Atomic Habit and use the same font and the same density of text, you would probably get this 260 page book down to like 160. You know, so you know what I mean. Those are some of the things that this chapter made me think of. Was this idea that like that all this is a design choice, and you make your choice depending upon what you want to do, right? You're designing with intention, And that's not, a lot of those things that they were talking about were things that I never really considered. And never mind like the more like nuts and bolts of it, right? Like you want to always like, you know, shoot one page to the left, the other one to the right, and the middle be blank. Like, yeah, that makes sense, right? But then there's a lot of other things that they added on to that I hadn't considered, and now it's in my peripheral, which is good going into bookbinding, right? So let's keep going down the list of the quotes, right? Another one that I liked a lot was like, keep your initial endeavors as simple as possible and look closely at other books for inspiration. Something I took to heart, hence why like I have a stack of books that I'm looking at and really trying to dissect the value of it, right? Things to consider in book design was function, cost, and the way you manufacture, right? Because some design choices are for certain manufacturing processes, right? I haven't gotten to the manufacturing portion of the book yet, but I'm assuming again that there's probably going to be a whole section talking about just straight up book binding and so forth, right? And that portion of it is probably where I'm going to get more nuts and bolts, more design choices for what I'm doing moving forward, right? Here goes another one, just page layout program, Adobe InDesign or Quark Express, font types. If your book is for sale, the cover is an essential marketing device that will function like a logo and advertisement. And that's the last quote that I pulled out of this section. Again, digging the reading, definitely feeling much more capable and confident moving forward as I get ready to do the bookbinding. But yeah, you guys, all this is just helping us get a better plan, a better handle on what we're up to. The TikTok sales haven't slowed down, and that's a good problem to have. If the idea is to manufacture my own comics and sell them, as well as open up a shop where I sell my comics and other people's comics, it doesn't hurt that we're getting quite a bit of a following on TikTok, and we're able to sell comic books on there, and we're selling zines and stickers and all kinds of other stuff now, right? And we just got to keep that energy up because it all adds up for the final plan. You know what I mean? But alright guys, as always, there will be a link in the show notes taking you to furrowpublication.com where you guys get the stuff that I make. Beyond that, please like, share, subscribe, and guess what? I do this daily, so I'll see you tomorrow. Lights.